TGIF Warriors. Thank God I found ForexAnalytix. How do you guys feel about that? Where we end up, what's brought into our lives, what we reject. Speaking of rejections, hi team, how's everyone doing?
Hi Dale.
Nice segue.
You know, Steve knows I'm a frustrated poet, and like you, I want to be a writer like you, Stel.
Yeah.
So all I could do is talk. So anyway, I get paid to talk. So let's talk about yesterday's action in FX. Pretty dramatic with yields, and you know, I still had a piece a euro long from turnaround Tuesday. Never took out my BE stops, and I'm thinking next week I may have a chance up here to liquidate and reverse. So that's what I'm looking to do. We'll see how deep it gets. You know, I was thinking we could still, you know, trade under 102.5. So this is what I was looking for. It's happening. So when it gets there, I'll try it. Line in the sand for me is 102. Tremendous move in silver, huh, Stel? Look at this candle.
Absolutely.
So
and we were asking, sorry, we were asking on the flow show, you know, what was this move? I didn't understand why there was such an outperformance. And apparently one of the biggest silver miners in Mexico, who is the #1 miner in the world, has stopped production, cut production, have done something. And so basically supply is even more severely limited now, but we haven't broken above 24.50. So
yeah, I think I know who that producer is, because a friend of mine told me about, you know, they are, like you said, the biggest silver. I think even the national, here it is. I believe this. No, that's not it. Here it is. No.
no, that's not it.
No, I know I
It
have
had
it,
this kind of a Spanish sounding name, obviously being
Here
Mexican.
you go.
No, it wasn't that one. It was another one. But still, you know, it's a matter of supply and demand. And silver has been in a deficit for the past couple of years, projected to be for this year as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know this is. I know I have it somewhere.
Supply and demand.
Anyway,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So silver looks a lot better than silver miners, don't you think? I mean, if you're holding silver miners and you saw the move you had in silver this week, wouldn't you say, you know, I'm a little disappointed?
Yeah, they're very much affected by yields because they're highly leveraged. So I think silver
We're
miners
almost back at these March lows.
Yeah. Silver miners have actually really underperformed. We really need to see a move lower in yields, which I think is coming, maybe not immediately, but I think it's coming when that happens, and provided that the world is not imploding, you know, and the S&P isn't down at 3,600, I think that they're going to be catching up in a big way.
Okay, so Blake was looking for a range. So far, we haven't violated the range in the S&Ps. Kind of felt that if the dollar weakened one more time, that would be a window for it to get to some Elliott fib levels, 430 or so. Could be there by Tuesday. I'm kind of thinking that the Fed might be a, you know, depending upon the instrument, a fade. You know, if they just stay pat. I think the market's, you know, beginning to price that in, and I think that might be a good fade next week with the Fed.
CPI and the Fed, yeah. The chart you're showing, I mean, that does not look bearish to me in any way. That's a problem. And you can bet there are, you know, quite a few stops above 4,300. We were saying the same above 4,200, remember? Oh, there's stops above 4,200. Look, you know, we tried to crack it once, then as soon as we got there, boom, you know, it's just gone. So I think it's going to be a similar story, most likely, because the market just tells us it wants to keep going higher. There's, you know, we've talked about it at length. There's not, you know, fundamentally, markets really shouldn't be rallying from here, shouldn't be up here, but the, you know, the positioning, I don't know, you know, all sorts of factors that are driving it higher, and I don't see any technical proof or you know, evidence that we should be selling. as clear as that. And we've been saying it for weeks, and look what it's been doing for weeks. So Jim Wells is looking for a top at around 43.50. Yeah, we break above 43, we take out all the stops, and then who knows?
That's why I think that's where this blue line will come in off the previous two highs, right around there, 43.40. So yeah, we could be there by Tuesday. Into the Fed, market celebrating that they're going to stand pat. And, there is a narrative that it could be bearish of the Fed standing pat, because why are they going to stand? Why would they stand pat? Because they're worried about something. They want to, make sure they're not in overkill, although, most believe they already have, fried the economy for next year.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, a lot of things next week. So get some rest over the weekend. I think possible inflection points and end of quarter coming up, the beginning of summer, the solstice, just some GAN stuff. And I think that I'm changing my view on the 10-year, because I thought we would break out, but I think yesterday's action was pretty important. It still can make a push here, but when I look at it now, really what you should do is absolutely nothing unless we break out over 390 or we break down under 330. So, and it's starting to look, all of this, I guess it could be continuation, but could also be distribution, which would be, bullish for notes and bonds. So a descending triangle is an Edwards and McGee classic reversal formation. It's not activated until you're under 330, and then you just take the, you take the measurement of the formation, and that's like 100. That's a full point from the highs, I believe, to 330. But I do know some guys looking for under 3 before rates start moving up again, just to shake people. And, the bonds, TLT, I'd rather go with the shorter term stuff. This still, hasn't proven itself. So both bonds, I think the two charts we looked at 10-year yields, and we looked at these, and they've been just kind of quiet, breakdown with no follow through. But yet, do you say just because we haven't followed through that we won't follow through? So it's probably a no touch right here. But this formation, I think, is worth paying attention to, because, we almost got back up here. Down here, people weren't looking for 390. Okay, so they're good or bad from here. One of these important levels about the next move in rates, which 90% say lower. So I guess the 90% could be right. But over 390, there's something else going on. Every central bank's tightening. Yellen made statements about, that we still have inflation, still our number one battle. And I think the IMF came out yesterday strongly encouraging central banks to stay on a tightening path. Did you see that?
I missed that, actually. Did they now?
Yeah, so they did.
Maybe some countries can default and they can step into quote unquote help.
Yes, yes, they love to help and strap countries with, debt they can't pay back. So how about the peso? Who is Kman here? How are you, buddy?
I'm here. Hey.
How are you, man?
Yeah, good.
So, well, let's start with the yen. So the yen really took a hit, and this is indicative of, price action in metals and everything. You get a big move one day, and absolutely no follow through.
Mhm.
You know, so this is still indecision too, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Every time the dollar yen tries to break out of something, there's either the dollar acting a bit weaker right now, and then overnight UEDA pushing back against too hasty changes in monetary policy, and that's what sent yen lower versus other currencies again overnight, and the dollar yen sticky in its 138, whatever, 80, 130, 140,
Yeah.
2030 range. I think the big one is the market is preparing the US CPI and expectations for it to come off. It could be actually, I was saying, to me, CPI could actually be the main
Bigger than the
driver for
Fed.
next week, and FOMC just having a reactionary function to what's going on. So either you get a double whammy, or you get some confusion again. But yeah, I think CPI is going to be an important one, because if CPI stays sticky high, even if the Fed holds, their skip, as people call it, will only be a short-term one as well. And then I think the market is going to try and look through or counter trade it. If in turn CPI completely goes down, then the people who have been selling out their dollars will have been right.
Yeah. So
And then the
there's
Fed can do whatever they like, because then
it's
the market can
compressing.
Sorry?
It's compressing.
Yeah,
You
very
know,
much
if it
so.
kept going sideways, it would,
Very much so.
you know,
But
look
if the
like a
CPI
funnel.
Yeah, but if the CPI stays sticky, I expect dollar yen to explode, especially that UEDA and the market now is also again repricing expectations, pushing the expectations for monetary policy changes further down the road. We had there's been something going on in calendar spreads in the past few days and even overnight. Where expectations for monetary policy moves are getting pushed back in Japan. So Mizuho now saying that they only expect something to happen in October, and UEDA is still communicating to that side. You know, to this.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell us that next week could be the week. He rather tells us that we need to be patient. So.
Hey,
Okay.
Kman, I want to, and good morning, everybody, and good morning, Dale.
Blake.
Good morning, Kman, Stelios. I wanted to ask you really quick, and this is, you know, I know, you know, I know you're not an economist, so I'm not expecting like an economist answer, but you know, you're thinking about like Japan and all the inflows, investment inflows that they've received recently, you know, between the Warren Buffett, you know, obviously the headlines of, you know, all that, and but the rally in the Nikkei, all of this money, you know, flooding into Japan. I mean, you know, because it's if you take, you know, the rest of the world and people are looking where to go, and they're looking to, you know, push money into places like, you know, Japan, that's really had, you know, stagnant growth for so many years. It's like, you know, people are looking for outlets, you know, taking it out of Japan, reinvesting in or taking it out of China, reinvesting in Japan, and, you know, out of the US into Japan, however you want to look at it. You know, maybe the inflation that is coming that hasn't, you know, reached, or, you know, is obviously getting Japan towards their inflation goal. Maybe it ends up just ripping right past their you know, with, you know, UEDA basically fanning the flames right now, you know, welcoming it, if you will. I wonder if it's just going to go like, you know, they're going to see what we've seen here in the US as a byproduct of, you know, the Bank of Japan's inaction at this point. You know, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure that I understand really your question, but the inflows, actually, if you look at inflows in Nikkei, you can, there's various ways of investing in a country, right? And what they do now is likely hedged. You don't really want to be long yen until the Bank of Japan really starts to move. So they do it via swaps, they do it via other instruments, because if you can be long Nikkei, but then if your yen devalues by 5%, you already need the Nikkei to go up by 5%. But if you do swaps, then you've already hedged a fair bit of it. So yeah, I can understand the investments in Japan, but then on the other side, they will have to also kickstart the economy. Really, we've seen better data, but we've seen a lot of mixed data as well still out of Japan. The good thing is, and that's that will probably filter through later, is that current account is back positive and things like that. It could be that the market is just now waiting for the real and clear signal that they will change monetary policy, but also we know that they are not going to go like the Fed or ECB and do like 50s and 25s every meeting. They are going to still keep, I think, a kind of yield curve control, but change maturities. So it's all very still up in the air, and it's going to take time. And in the meantime, if you want to be long yen, you're paying away quite a bit of funding against everything virtually now, even against the euro, where euro yen was okay to be short for a while. Now with rates in Euroland above 3%, you're also paying away there, and that's what is keeping the yen on its toes as well. And if inflation elsewhere needs to go down and needs to stay down, so that the other central banks stop or pause or even start to cut rates, and then the Bank of Japan moves some of its monetary policy, and then you're going to see a materially strengthening in the yen. But until then, it's still like every day that goes by, you pay for being long yen, and I think also that is linked to those investments in the Nikkei, is that people don't really buy yen as such, but do it on a very hedged basis right now.
Yeah. All right. Hey Dale, do you mind if I take over the charts?
No, go ahead, buddy.
All right. And we and thanks, Kman, for your comments there. I was actually more talking about just the Japanese economy, and I guess it's going to take time to see the Japanese economy and see how it flourishes in over the course of the next couple of years. But let's talk about what's happening today. We have the Bank of Canada, Bank of Canada. The Bank of Canada surprised us with a rate hike this week, pushed the dollar CAD towards this 133 level. Here we are once again pushing down towards that support ahead of the Canadian jobs report today. This could be the catalyst that drives us lower. And I met with Mark Chandler of Bannockburn yesterday. And he brought up actually some pretty great points. You guys are going to really enjoy that interview. And if you don't know where to find it, you should be able to find it here right on the homepage of Trader Summit. You should probably end up seeing his picture up here later today. That interview, in my opinion, he points out something that he talked about the other day as far as what's happening in New York and the Canadian fires, and how it's affecting New York. But the point of the conversation and the point of his post was that Canada saw some really, really strong growth the first half of this year, but he thinks that the and I don't want to take away from his whole interview, but he thinks that the fires, because of where they're located, they're really going to have an effect on Canadian GDP and growth moving forward, because these fires are happening earlier in the normal cycle. And he points out like when the cycles are. I think it's a really interesting conversation. You guys are going to really enjoy it. However, we do have a Canadian jobs report today, which I think is going to be it could be a market mover. Stelios, do you have any thoughts regarding the Canadian jobs report today? What are you watching? Is there anything that you're looking at?
Good question. I don't have an opinion, I'm afraid. The only thing I'm looking at is on the jobs data. What I am looking at is dollar CAD, and that dollar CAD is looking like it's trying to break this trend line, which has been going on for
I mean, that's
well,
like,
since November last year. And
yeah,
this is trying to break. So, if the jobs data today confirms that, if it comes in strong, then I think this is a great short. Maybe even wait for it to, if you miss the first move, wait for it to retest the trend line and then short. I always like doing that. But if the number is strong, I think I'm going to short it. Not in big size. I'm going to do like a small trade, just short it wherever the market is, because I think this is a very important technical break, and I'm sure lots of people are looking at that. So that's what I'm looking at.
yeah. If you look at the Canadian jobs data, and I mean how strong, this has obviously been a theme here in the U.S. It's probably more of a North American issue, and you can see that the jobs market continues to be really, really strong in Canada. Kman, you have any thoughts with the dollar Canadian so close to the support?
That's the thing. We spoke about that over the week, right? And then we had the Bank of Canada surprise. And if you get yet another better Canadian labor report, there's probably going to be toast this level, especially that the dollar is already on the defensive versus most of the currencies. There's not much going to hold it from at least going for a serious attempt to break it.
How juicy do those stops look below 133 right now?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I agree. It looks pretty good. We'll come back to the Canadian here in a moment. But let's talk about what's happening in other currencies and other markets. I know, Dale, you were talking about yields. The 10-year, getting close to that. I think it's a pretty big breakout point, big breakdown point. And we were talking earlier this week about, hedge funds, their, trade of choice right now is selling bonds and buying, yields. It's like the Momo trade right now. And you got, 10 years creeping higher, the 30 years creeping higher. Short end is really strong as far as yields go. Bonds are super weak. Copper continues to be really strong, and we're right up against pretty key resistance today, actually, in copper. We were also really quick. I know, Dale, you asked Kman about the dollar MEX. Dollar MEX still remains on its back foot here, at near a lot of support, but also extremely weak. And Kman, you have any thoughts on the peso right now?
Look at the RSI, Blake.
I'm a little cautious on the mix right here and now, because we did see the data, the CPI creep lower, but not really at a speed that is starting to get alarming. But it should at least hold Banxico from doing anything more right now. They are already above 11%. I don't see them do anything, but it's still the reason why I think MEX is not correcting more on slowing data is just because it's such a high yielder, and it's tough to stay short dollar MEX. If next week the US CPI goes down more than expected, then I think the 17.25 will be toast. But I think it's a big level down there, right? 17.25 around. Always give and take a little bit with any EM currency, but a 17.25 is a big level. So I'm going to
127% extension to channel support. Yeah, a lot of support down here.
Yeah, if in turn it's sticky and we start to see a little bit of more nervosity about the MEX, if you start to get above 40.45 or 40.48, even call it 17.50, then I think there's at least room, that's for sure, to correct. But then it may correct a bit more.
We a lot of times we pray to the FX gods that they'll just give us another just quick move up to the 200-day moving average. Stelios knows what the Greek god sounds like, and someday, Kman, I'm going to bless you with what those Greek gods sounds like. Stelios, should I
please
give
no.
it to him? Okay. Let's hey Stel, your Norway finally dropped to the 618. Looks like it's going to weaken here, but we're at flag support. We're at a bull flag area, 618 retracement, previous broken trend line, total big pivot here. Do you sell it or do you get long? What do you
Plus we're a week away from the Fed, and it's I'm nervous doing anything ahead of a big binary event. So if it wasn't for the Fed, I would probably try to short a little bit here and see how it goes from here, because this could be a bounce very easily. So I wouldn't go all in on this, but this looks like it wants to break. So I would probably do a quarter size and see what happens. But we've got the Fed next week. So hopefully this bounces a little bit, stays within this kind of descending channel, this kind of corrective structure that we're seeing, and see how it resolves from there.
Dale, you were talking a little bit, thanks Stel, you were talking a little bit about the dollar wanting to get to levels that you were interested in. If you look at the dollar index, we're still in a bull flag pattern, and we're getting close to the 38% retracement. Just so you guys know, and this is kind of a gimme to all the people that are just listening to us for free that are not in the Forex Analytics community. I've been looking for a euro dollar short, and I've got an order still out till the end of the day to be a seller at 108, 108.10, I think is where my order is at, to complete equal leg move to the 38% retracement. I've just had my order out there literally like the last 48 hours, maybe 72 hours actually, now that I'm thinking about it. It's been out there since about middle of this week. Anyway, I'm trying to get short the euro at this 38% retracement. That would put the dollar index right at the bottom of the flag to get long here. So what do you do, Dale? Do you get long the dollar here ahead of the Fed, or are you going to be like Stelios and wuss out?
No, I said earlier, I think the Fed's going to be the day to fade it if they do the pause. I expect, the dollar selling off, I believe, in anticipation of that, and the 10-year came off because of, same reason, employment claims was the excuse. So if the Fed does nothing, they sell the dollar off to that zone. I'm long euro right now, looking for 108.50 to take profits in reverse.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. Hey, real quick, I just wanted, I know you guys were talking about the dollar yen. I mean, we've been looking at this really tight consolidation. Yesterday, I actually covered up my dollar yen shorts yesterday because we were here. We got towards the triangle support. It's really bullish, and you can see we dipped below 139 slightly to the 138.85, just enough to freak everybody out, but it's still in a pretty bullish trend. I'm going to take us over to the Canadian because we're just a couple of minutes away. Let's actually put it on the dollar CAD. You should also take a look at the Euro CAD, Canadian yen. I know if you're in the Forex Analytics community, you've probably already been looking at all these levels. I'm not going to keep them on right now because of, we're just running, low on time. Let me grab the data flash. I'm going to pull that over and you can see dollar Canadian 133, really big support. We're trying to find some buyers are swooping in just ahead of the data. Looking for about 23,000 jobs to be created, unemployment rate at 5.1%. So looking to tick up just a little bit. Are we going to start to see some weakness in Canadian jobs? And I think we ask that question pretty much every month regarding U.S. employment as well.
Well, remember Tracy left Canada, so it might have an impact.
She moved to the U.S. No wonder our jobs report has been, unemployment's been so strong here.
Yeah,
she did leave Canada. Sheila was miserable out there, by the way.
Yeah,
she couldn't deal with being locked in the cold for that much longer. Any last minute thoughts? Kman, Stelios, Steve. If Steve's here, I'm not sure if Steve's here.
He's here.
Okay, we got that data coming out.
I wanted to ask Steve a question.
Oh well, hey, do you have a guest today?
I am here.
No,
you do not. Okay, well, guess what? We'll stick around afterwards after the data. that you can ask Steve a lot of questions. Woo, a little bit of a miss.
Ooh.
Wow.
Finally a
Unemployment
weak
rate
one.
really ticking higher too.
Oh,
Wow.
participation.
Really bad
rates,
data. But we have to keep in mind that Canadian employment data tend to be extremely volatile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extremely volatile.
That is gonna give the dollar CAD a bit of a lift. I would not want to be short the dollar CAD with us so
Yeah.
close to the support. And if we get above 134, it's going to create a bit of a squeeze. Fridays are known in the, when you're dealing with Canada, it's a trend day, so if this sticks, like if you're about an hour into this, like from now and for an hour, when New York opened, let's just call it that. And this thing is doing something like this, and I'm just going to draw it out for you guys so you can see I can illustrate what I'm talking about. If we by North America, by the open of the stock market, if we're doing that, we'll end up trending for the day. So just keep that in mind. It's pretty weak data. You guys have any thoughts here? Just off the bat, Kman, Stel.
Yeah,
Steve?
should be solidifying the 133 figure a quarter support on the dollar CAD, I'd say. It's quite funny because it sends dollar yen lower.
Actually dollar yen, dollar max.
All the yen pairs are, well, yen is stronger versus everything. It's quite funny. But keep an eye on 103 quarters in the Canada yen.
I was going to say, here's the thing, right?
Of a move there as well.
Yeah, what I was going to mention, you mentioned the yen, and the Canadian yen's obviously, pretty key levels of resistance here. We're at the 618 retracement, ascending wedge top, previous supports acting as current resistance. All the big reasons why it should be rejecting up here. But we saw the Turkish yen really reverse some of
Turkish
the yen pairs.
yen, seriously?
Yeah.
Turkish yen is just Turkey. That's nothing else, right?
I get it. Excuse me, because it's 5 a.m. here and I say some funny things. But the TRY-JPY, that reversal happened the other day, following the Turkish elections. And there was a lot of big flows there, and it actually impacted a lot of the yen pairs in Asia. And then a couple people were talking about it. I don't know if Kman, you heard the did you watch the Weston what's his last name?
Nakamura.
Is Nakamura, is that what his name is? Yep. Yeah, he had mentioned something about that. I was listening to one of his podcasts, and he was talking about that the flows that, because there's so many Japanese locals that are they're long Turkish lira, and so I wonder if we just saw a little bit of a cross rate effect in the Canadian yen as well.
I wouldn't. No, I'm with Stel there. Right? I'm not sure whether Mrs. Watanabe is still in Turkey yet. They've been burned twice. I'm not sure if they're still in there. I mean, he probably knows the flows, but I'm not going to comment on Turkey yen here. I don't think that the Japanese are that brave of buying a currency that loses 25% every year. But
that's what I was surprised about. I was surprised, but he was talking about it, and I was like, well, okay,
I haven't read it, but I'll read it. But
okay, so and I guess here's another thing. I actually had one of the guys that I used to trade with that he traded on. I forget. He was on Citi's desk for. He was a Lehman guy. Went to Citi. After Lehman went to Citi, then he came traded for the firm that I was trading at, and he actually sent me something on the lira yen this week as well. Just before I read or heard Weston Singh. That's the whole reason why I was seeking it out. Anyway, needless to say, I found it kind of interesting. Dollar yen's at triangle support, or at wedge support, by the way, just FYI. So Steve is here. Steve, how you doing?
I think he left. He had to take his son to the doctor or something.
Oh, okay.
So you missed your
Um,
opportunity. You asked
Yeah,
me a
got
question when you should have asked him.
Yeah,
Right.
Seriously, what kind of
I
leadership is
wanted
this?
to. I wanted to ask him something too.
Well,
I'll have
you
to
can,
wait
you know
till
what?
Monday.
Why don't you plug in Stelios for Stelios, because Steve's name is Stelios too. Maybe Stelios can answer Steve's question.
Oh,
Which
well,
one was
it's
that?
really about Elliot, and Steve,
Oh.
out of all of us, understands it more than, I mean, I'm Grega knows it, but
Right, and
you
he's
know,
not
And
here.
I understand it the
what-
least.
yeah.
What are you going to ask it on? Because we can pull it up right here on ForexAnalytix.
Okay, the tenure,
Yeah, let's go
or
take a
does
look.
he just, or he does notes? It'll just be the opposite.
It'll
Okay,
be the notice. We'll
tenure,
just do the opposite. So here's the way he's looking at his
Ten-
wave count right now. Continued consolidation. So he's actually looking for a rally in the 10-year. So a dip
Okay.
down in yields.
That's
He'd be
what,
looking for, and I'll pull up the chart here in a second. But basically, what he's going to be looking for is
yeah,
something
there's
that
one more
looks-
high or one more.
Yeah,
high.
he sees this. He sees this correcting. Down here is what is the way I interpret that,
Oh.
right?
Mm,
Yeah, well, yeah, shallow correction.
He's seeing it. He's seeing a continued consolidation of this
Yeah,
of the yields,
and then
basically.
and then a push lower, or
And then he's seeing a push higher in bond prices, so push
So
lower in
that'd be-
yields. Yes.
So it'll
lower.
be
Yes.
like,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be basically he's looking for eventually a move lower in yields.
I
to do
agree with that.
Yeah, okay,
100%.
all right, well, that's what the formation says.
Yeah.
I thought we'd get one, that this thing that we're looking at was a triangle, but I was looking at the triangle. Yeah, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm fried.
I know. Well, hey Dale, good news is you have access to ForexAnalytix, so you can jump in there anytime and be
Yeah.
fried and sit here and look at it and go, huh, okay, I see it. Anyway, Kman, I don't know if he's still here. Kman, if you're
I
still
am.
here, any final thoughts going into the weekend, going into next week? We got the Fed, BOJ, ECB. What are your final thoughts going into this week?
It's clean the books time on this Friday, it seems. As I said, I'm quite amazed that yen pairs are coming off on a Canadian release. But it really looks like it's clean the books time. We had the dollar rand actually briefly trading under 1870. That really, I think, must be hurting a few people. I gave up on it for the time being. I will wait for the US CPI on Tuesday. If that is sticky or overshoots, I probably re-enter that one. And for the rest, yeah, I'm still quite constructive actually on a few yen pairs. Perhaps not necessarily the Canadian today, but like sterling, I'm still looking strong. Got a little bit of that. And I, since I don't think that Lagarde is going to stay hawkish for much longer, I'm looking at some euro pairs, perhaps to counter trade, start to short a bit of euros here and there.
I mean, look at the euro sterling. It just continues to be
Yeah.
so weak. I mean,
leaking lower, leaking lower.
It is. And what happens if we start breaking this level, the 85.50? I mean, that could really open up some floodgates. So, thank you for your thoughts on the. Do you have any? By the way, I guess you were talking a little bit about the BOJ. The BOJ meets at the end of next week. I mean, based on some comments that we're getting from Ueda, I mean, it seems like that they're not going to be ready to move. Do you think that they're just playing? Is he playing coy here?
Looking at the way he is communicating since he stepped into the office, if they would do something next week, then I think all bets are off for whatever the Bank of Japan may do in the future. But looking at Ueda, looking at the kind of guy he is, I would suspect next week they don't do anything, because he's been saying and repeating that it's still a bit too early. But my base case is that they still will normalize in some form this year or this fiscal year, since he came in, and but but it's going to be at a slower pace than other central banks have done. Yeah, I don't think next week they will do anything.
All right. Stel, what are you thinking going into next week? I know it's the Fed. We're looking at, what's happening in equities. By the way, I didn't even get the chance to talk about it. I know you did, Stel. I want to mention this. Here's like a bull flag pattern in the S&P, just so you guys all see it. We've had it up there this week in our charts that we've been talking about. Look, this bull flag pattern targets 4,400. If we play out, and remember that's above the 4320 resistance, maybe that's what triggers all the stops to the 161% extension to 4436, which actually ends up being a big Gartley pattern, which would set up for a hell of a reversal for the next few months. What are your thoughts
not just
on
stops? Not just stops. I think we're going to get quite a bit of FOMO when we.
Why not? I mean, hell, I'm missing it. It's a FOMO. I use Chris Weston's fear of underperformance of it's not just FOMO. It's FOMO. But anyway, any thoughts going into the Fed next week?
I think we will get that, and the reason why we'll get that is I think the CPI next week. I don't remember what the expectation is, but last print was 4.9. Not the core; it's the headline was 4.9. I've read a few analysts saying we could get a three handle. Well, in the two so quickly, I don't think so. But we've been talking about the mechanics of the calculation and all that. I think it's going to be dropping. Quite fast again. And if we do, I don't remember what the projection, what the estimate is for the
I'll
next
tell you in 1 second. Still, I just have to look at a different screen here.
I think the pattern will be still that inflation undershoots and comes in weaker than expected, and that for me will make the Fed pause and not skip. They will just pause, and that will bring strength to the equity markets, which again, I'm going to repeat, it doesn't make much sense, but I think that's what the next move is going to be. And that I think the continuation of this squeeze is going to take us beyond the Fed and a little bit more. Then we take everybody out, all the stops, then we get FOMO people in, and then it's time to reverse.
And then, so US CPI expected next week at 4.2% year over year. That's on the that's just the CPI reading on core. Expected month over month 0.4%, about in line. But one of the things about CPI and this is a conversation. I don't want to take too much away from Mark Chandler, the conversation I had there, but I will say that talking with him, he thinks that they're going to make a lot of adjustments on the dot plots. Because that's how they're going to be communicating that they are going to keep rates higher for longer. And I found that interesting that he's like, they're gonna pause, but this is how they have to communicate what they're going to be doing in the future.
That's why you fade that pause.
That's it.
That's another
I think
reason.
when the market understands that, hey, we're not going to get rate cuts this year, more than likely, right?
Yeah, buy the dollar on that pause.
All right, you heard it from Dale. So, Dale,
what else, Blake? Show the screen our website again. If I'd say goodbye to everybody.
But by the way, guys, the market is not pricing any real cuts by the end of the year. It's only like 5 basis points, so it's not like the market's expecting cuts. The cuts are priced in starting early next year. Just something to keep in mind.
All right, so everyone that hasn't had the experience of being able to go to this platform every day, so you see all the different analysts up there, all the different disciplines. You just pick any instrument. Tell me this isn't worth 1 trade a month, and you get Andre's stuff, you get Greg's stuff, and when you are confused, it's nice to look at and multiple time frames. So it's a value, and then the community on top of it. Don't think about it this weekend. Do it, because someone said that Larry Williams is looking for a short-term low in July. So whatever's happening here, There's going to be some action in July. I don't think it's going to be a dull summer. So
Yeah, I think it'll maybe be a dull August, right? Like that's, when the Europeans are, Europeans
right,
are
everyone's
pretty
on
much out.
vacation
So
in
yeah.
August, and that's when the machines will take over and clean house. So anyway, it's not going to be a slow summer. I want to thank everyone. I hope we're doing our job, adding value to what you want to accomplish in a pretty tough business. And the way to say thank you if you're just in F.A.C.E is to become part of the community and bring your good work and share it and give you a chance to help others out in there too. And with that being said, best team on the net. Thanks, Blake and Stel and Kman and Steve, even though you're not here.
Thank you, Coach.
And Ryan, who I know will be back after soccer season.
He's on another planet.
He is. Anyway, the best team on the net have access to, just go in the chat room and want to hear a little bit more about what Kman's thinking around things, and Blake, and a lot of talent in that room. I know a lot of you guys that are here in F.A.C.E are in the rooms. So invest in yourself and say thank you to us. So that's a wrap, everyone. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings, and start manifesting what you want now. Okay, because, no one knows how much time they have on the planet. So why waste it? Make the most of it. And I think if you're a trader, this is really could be a turning point for you if you take the step. All right, everyone. Have a great weekend, team. Recharge.
Wise words, Dale. Wise words. Thank you.
Yeah, so
thanks, Coach.
We'll kick some ass next week. How about that?
Yep.
All right.
All right.
All right. Have a great weekend, guys.
Big week
Bye-bye.
next